Hey guys! So today I'm so excited because I wanted to talk to you about small money mistakes that you make that can actually cost you big. And I have my trusty notes here. So if you see me looking down, that's what that's about. But I wanted to get started with this because I've noticed that there's like a trend on YouTube about like big money mistakes and there's a lot of guilt that goes along with that, like you can't go back in the past and fix a big money mistake that you made. And I think we're all guilty of making a big money mistake. I know that I am, but I'm trying to keep this episode to be a little bit more light and lively. So I don't want to talk about anything big. I was thinking, why don't we concentrate on the smaller things that some of us, or maybe all of us, do, where by just making those small changes, we can really make an impact on our lives. So I shared with you guys a few weeks ago my money journey a little bit. So my husband and I, we were in $48,000 of credit card debt and car loans, unfortunately. And that was only because of Hurricane Sandy, because if it wasn't for that, I would not have bought my car new. Big regret, but what can you do? Again, money mistake in the past. So, but then after those 2 years, we paid off the $48,000. And so in December 31st of 2018, a date that'll live in infamy, how do you say that, in this house. So anyway, so then the very next day, we starting to save up for our emergency fund. And I have a whole video on why we have an 8 month of an emergency fund, and I'll link that below. But anyway, so what I wanted to tell you is when we started looking at all of our finances, I really realized that there are some small pitfalls that can really cost you big. And so I thought, why not just share my thoughts on this? And I can't wait in the comments and also in the chat to find out what you guys think about these as well. So I'm looking at my notes and let's get started. So the first one, I don't even have to look at it. It's social media. Now, I'm on YouTube. A lot of the people that are watching are on YouTube also. They have their own channels and they're fantastic and I can't wait to get to them. But social media also has a little bit of a pitfall, and in my opinion at least. And that is because before social media, if you wanted to compare yourself to the Joneses, you'd have to look outside your window and see, hey, this person's driving this car and this person's wearing this suit. But now the Joneses are literally on your phone. And you can actually look at celebrities around the world. You can look at people that you went to high school with and college with. And it's human nature, I think, to compare yourself a little bit. For me, I'm all about experiences. I'm not about possessions. So although I have many college and high school friends that carry around the most expensive purses and they have like the fanciest jobs, and I'm really happy for them, my thing is about experiences. So I remember that when we were saving for our vacation that we took 2 years ago, a little bit of maybe a year and a half ago now, I remember that I was in bed one day and I was sifting through my Instagram, and my husband comes in and he's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "Look at this person. This person's on a yacht. Like I'm never gonna be able to be on a yacht." And my husband looked at me like I had two heads, and he's like, "Honey," he's like, "I get boat sick." And I'm like, you're right. Like, why am I looking at something that is right now unachievable for us? And so that really made me think about keeping up with the Joneses and how we compare ourselves to others. So a way that I actually went and did the opposite, which I really found kind of like made me even more positive about money at that point, was I unsubscribed to those channels and I started subscribing to great budgeting channels and budgeting podcasts. And by being positive about money, all of a sudden I was more excited than ever to be able to save up little increments of money that added up to so much that, like I said, we paid off all of our debt and now have emergency fund. So that's one of the ways that you can actually try to avoid a pitfall. And I notice it in my kids too. Like I'm first generation here. My parents were immigrants. And so I know what it's like to not have. And again, my childhood, my mom made my childhood as happy as can be. And although we knew we were without, it wasn't anything that was like negative about it. We knew we were full of love and we were given love, and that made everything worthwhile. But my kids, they don't know what it's like to be without as I did. like for us, a status of financial wealth when I was in school was those pens that the bottom was blue and the top you'd flick through it and you'd change the color of the ink. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? If I saw a kid in school that had that, I was like, wow, they've got money. And another status symbol, not for me as much as like my parents, I hear them talk about it, is so and so got braces. Like, wow, like they're doing well, you know? And now it's like both my teenagers, one has braces, doesn't have braces anymore. And I'm just like, status symbol, really? Braces? But that's how it was back then. But my kids, like, I notice it now, like, they want like the latest game, or they want like something else for their furniture in their room, and I'm like, do you have the money in your savings account? Like, do you have it? And they're constantly on YouTube and social media, and they see all these people that are their ages that have more things, and I'm like, then save for it, like save for it. And so that's something I wanted to throw out there, because I think it's not about jealousy. I think it's just human nature to compare yourself to someone else. So anyway, so that's my preach about that. This is another one that I feel, once I started doing this, I really feel like I actually saved so much money and also time, to be honest with you. And it's about checking your bank account statements and your credit card statements. Now, I've said this before, I'm a little antiquated. I know that my friends give me some grief about it, because like, Debbie, like, automate your bills, like just have it come out of your checking account. But I really feel like another thing that I feel about money is like, you need to know yourself, like you need to know yourself and how you are and how you're kind of like programmed, I guess. For me, if I have a physical piece of paper in that envelope, in that little bill box that I have by the door, I know that I get paid biweekly. So biweekly, I'm going to take that box. I'm going to go through every bill. I'm going to go through every credit card statement. I'm going to go through every bank statement that I have. And I'm going to really look at every transaction for two reasons. I have caught so many mistakes that credit card companies have done. And again, nothing against Amazon. And I know I'm not supposed to say names of companies, but it's going to be obvious what I'm talking about. But I've gotten Amazon charges for music. I've gotten Amazon Audible. I've gotten credit card charges that weren't mine. And I know they weren't mine because I don't shop at certain stores that were on that statement. And if I did, my closet would be like really luxurious. When I saw a certain charge from a certain store that I've seen across the mall, but I can't even afford to put a foot into it, I was like, yeah, no, that's disputed. Double charges on online orders. I noticed that this Christmas, I use my credit card because it's budgeted and I'm going to pay it off at the end of the month, no credit card debt whatsoever. But I did charge some Christmas gifts on a credit card that I had budgeted. And when I went to go check my statement, one department store charged me twice for the same amount, the exact same amount. I was like, yeah, I didn't buy 4 gifts from you. I bought 2. I know exactly who I bought it for and how much it was, because again, it's on my budget and I write everything down. So I called them up and I disputed it, and they apologized and refunded it right away. That would have been $100 that I would have lost if I didn't check that statement. Another one is, I wish I could name department stores because this one was fantastic. I have a credit card to a certain department store, and I got it because when we moved into this house, I got a great deal with a coupon and everything. And so I charged like our beds for the kids and for my husband and I. And I don't use that credit card. I barely ever use it. I keep it in my wallet, but I don't even remember the last time I even used it. So I get a call from them and they said to me, like, did you go to California and make a charge? And I was like, I've never stepped foot in California. I wish I had, but no, it's on my bucket list. And so they're like, no, like there's a charge here for this. Don't worry. It's automatically going to be refunded to you. And we're going to cancel your card and issue you a new card. But had I gotten that statement and not looked at it and just automated my bills, I would have been paying for someone else's thing, someone else who broke into somehow my card and charged something across the country. Again, you have to look at your credit card statements. And also, you only have a certain amount of a window to be able to dispute a charge. I know with one of my cards, they said it was 90 days. And then after that, I have to go through like a whole fraud department and this whole thing. And I'm like, I don't have time for that. And you shouldn't have to be dedicating so much time to something that could be small or could be big, or it could be actually someone breaking into your personal financial information, which is so dangerous. And another reason why I look through the statements is actually to save me time during taxes. Now, I'm going to sound like a nerd, but here goes. I have 3 kids. So 2 of them are teenagers, and I have a little 6-year-old. So there are certain expenses that are tax deductible. Like, for example, when Emily was in daycare, which thank God she's not anymore, um, aftercare, summer camp, um, medication costs for the kids, co-payments for the kids, and also for my husband and I. All of that are tax, well, not my husband and I, but for the kids, they're all tax deductible. Also, my husband, he has certain charges that he does throughout the year for business expenses. So what I do is, instead of throwing things in a box and then in the beginning of the year or like a week before taxes are due, like I start going through it, like why waste the time when I'm already going through every single thing that I have in order to make sure that I'm paying for only the charges that are mine. So while I go through it, I have a little Word document that I did, a little chart. And as I go through it, I put it in there. Like my kids' braces, that's another one. That's a tax deductible. So that way, not only am I guaranteeing that I'm not paying anything extra, but at the same time, I'm also making notes. And I actually added it up again, nerd right here. And I added it up for taxes, and I'm ready to go. As soon as we get our tax documents, we're calling up our accountant and getting that done. So that's another one. This is one that bothers me because I do. I work for a family law department. I'm a paralegal, and so I see some of our clients' financial statements come in, and ATM charges. Tell me this is not a pet peeve to anyone else who loves to budget or save money. I don't get it. I don't get it. Okay. So I used to actually work for a bank when I was in college. So I really saw this like firsthand, and I'm like, sorry, I have a question here. Okay. Let's say I have a bank. I can't say names again. Okay. My bank is 2 blocks down. So let's say I'm spontaneously going to do something, which I'm not spontaneous, but and I don't have cash, right? I'm going to go to my own bank. Why? Because then I don't have to pay a fee for taking out money. I have had a circumstance once before where I had a little bit of an emergency and I didn't have enough cash on me. This is many years ago. And so I had to use another bank's ATM. And I know that some bank accounts do have it where it's actually like a perk for you. Like you can use any ATM like across the country and there's no charge. And that's great. But the accounts that I have, they don't have that perk. So again, this happened a few years ago, and I know the fees have gone up since then. So let me know in the description box down below or in the comments if you guys know exactly how much it is. I can tell you back when it happened to me, I had to use another ATM. And so I understand, okay, like let's be understanding here, right? I understand that I'm using another bank's services and they have no allegiance to me whatsoever, right? I get it. So they're going to charge me for using their ATM. Okay, that's fine. They charged me $7. I was like, okay. But when I went and looked at my statement, my own bank charged me $7 as well. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I bank with you. Like, I bank with you. Are you telling me that I paid $14 extra above what I took out because I had a circumstance where I didn't have my own ATM near me? That never happened again. But I do these financial statements for our clients, and I see that when they see a small charge or they know that there's a small charge, and again, no judgment, I'm just trying to help. When you see a small charge, and that's actually something else I have on this list, is you don't really think about it as like the big picture. You see a small charge and you're like, oh, it's just $7 one time, whatever. I'm not like that, but I'm picturing them. But they have like hundreds of dollars of ATM fees because they're anywhere. They need cash. They put it in the card. Okay, got my cash. Let's go. Like hundreds of dollars. What one person would pay for their electricity bill in a month, someone else pays for an ATM charge. Again, all you have to do in order to avoid this is just plan ahead. When it comes to finances, I really feel like a lot of things go back to being organized and planning ahead. So when it comes to this, all you have to do is, if you budget it and you know you want to do something, or you know you want to go somewhere, either stop by your own ATM and get the money out, or plan ahead and have it out before you even make the plans. Just knowing, like, I have a little bit of an entertainment fund. It's here in case I need it, in case I want to do something at the last minute, I have it here. And that way you avoid those fees. Another thing, of course, are my cash stuffing envelope people. They obviously plan ahead as well, and they don't ever have to stop at the ATM because they have everything for their week, for their biweekly or monthly, right there in hand. So here goes. Not disputing charges. I've heard my friends say this. I've heard my coworkers say this. And I am like, what? Again, no judgment, but here goes. So you see a $2 charge on your credit card statement, for example, and you're like, I'm not going to take the time to call my credit card company. I know I didn't charge those $2, and I'm just going to let it go. It's just $2, right? Okay. First of all, $2 normally on a charge, or 99 cents on a charge on a credit card that's not yours, normally is a red flag. I'll tell you why. I had to deal with this when it came to when I worked at the bank, and it's actually gotten a lot worse now, as it happened to me with that department store. So when someone gets your credit card information, they are not going to just go to California and spend like 500 and something dollars on something, right? They're going to see, does the credit card work? Like, is it active? Is this person paying attention to their statements? So they'll put $1, $2 on there, and they wait, right? If it goes through and there's no disputing it, they wait a few days, maybe a few weeks, and then they go big. And that's how credit card fraud happens. So if you see a small charge, first of all, small amounts, like I've told you before, add up to big amounts flying out of your pocket. Like, might as well throw out that money out the window. But also, it can actually be a red flag for something worse. I have to watch what I say here. I used to work for an attorney, and he charged about $500 an hour. I know, $500 an hour. Okay. My first week working with him, and he was lovely. My first week working with him, I heard him on the phone with his credit card company for 45 minutes, disputing a $13 charge. I was like, you charge $500 an hour. Why are you disputing a $13 charge? I didn't ask him because that's none of my business. It was just, I overheard him and his frustration outside the door. But that's how rich people think. Like, and that's how, like, it's funny, like, some things are like negatively, there's like a negative connotation to it, right? Like, why am I going to spend like 15 minutes on the phone disputing a $13 charge? This guy charges $500 an hour and was on the phone for like 45 minutes about a small charge. It's the way rich people think. It's my money. Why am I going to allow this to happen? Well, we should be thinking that way too. We should be thinking that way too. Like, it's my money. You need to dispute anything that's on your credit card because, one, someone could have your information and you're about to really take a hit on your credit score. You might be liable for that charge if you don't find it fast enough. So, and also, like, the frugal side of me is like, I'm not letting anyone take my $2. So it's not happening. Oh, another fee that I just recently disputed, and I was just kicking myself because it was my fault. It was my fault completely. One of my slush funds or side accounts that I have is my Christmas fund. And so from each paycheck, I take out a small amount and I put it there so it accumulates because I know exactly how much I'm going to need for the holidays. So I just recently, so at the end of December, you know, when the credit cards started coming in on everything that I charged and then I had budgeted and tracked everything down to the penny, I transferred the money over from my slush fund, my Christmas fund, to my checking account. So just last week, I'm doing the bills bi-weekly, as I always do. And I'm looking at my statement, as I just told you before, and I see a $5 fee on my Christmas fund. And I was like, what's that about? I called them up. Let me tell you, I didn't realize when I opened up that account, because I opened up 3 separate accounts. I opened up 2 accounts for the kids just so that they can put their allowance in there. And I opened up this Christmas fund for us. I didn't realize it had a $300 minimum on the account, or you get a $5 fee. So I called, once they explained it to me, I was like, oh, I forgot because I had $300 from the beginning that I had accumulated before I opened up the account that I just transferred right over. So I didn't even think about the fee, right? So now, of course, it's January and I get hit with this fee. And did I just say, oh, okay, so sorry, whatever? No. Like, I was like, I made a mistake. I know I made a mistake, but would you mind? Is there any way that I can have that $5 refunded to my account? And she was like, of course. You've never asked for anything on this account before. Of course, not a problem. And she reversed it. So what did I do immediately? I took money from one account and moved it in there just temporarily until I can figure out what am I going to do, because I'm not going to continue to pay a fee at all for an account, nor am I going to have money in there in order to not have that fee assessed at all. But anyway, I digress. So the next one is what we hear all the time when we're talking about budgeting and taking down all of your expenses. And that is living above your means. Now, you hear this expression a lot and it kind of fades in the background to some people. I know because I deal with people and their budgets all the time. So living above your means, what does that actually mean, right? It's pretty simple. And again, I'm sure it makes sense to most of you. But if there's anyone out there that's heard that expression and just never really gave it thought, living above your means is that you spend more than you make. Pretty simple, right? Now, let's say you're like, well, I don't spend more than I make. No, but are you charging more than what you make? So you take the amount of money that you have coming in every week, bi-weekly, monthly, and you look at what goes out, right? But how do you know what goes out? Well, the way you know what goes out is by tracking your expenses, which I'll talk about in a minute. So if you look at how much comes in and you look at how much goes out, then you're obviously either living below your means, which is fantastic because that's where the savings comes in, or you're living above your means. As I mentioned, so I'm a family law paralegal, and this is something that I find so interesting. And I think to myself, like, if more people knew this, like at least what I've seen, if more people had this information, like how much could it help someone else, right? Now we have clients that come in that some of them make minimum wage. Some of them make, I just wrote down figures here because it literally just happened this week. So we had a client come in and the client only makes $20,000 a year, minimum wage, right? A mom, she's so sweet, a mom of 2 kids. You would think she's barely getting by, right? She has no credit card debt whatsoever. She doesn't owe anything to anyone and she's fine. No credit card debt, and she knows her finances. That's a big frustration for me. I really feel like people should know their finances. And I see a lot in the family law world where you depend, and I was one of them. I have to tell you, I have a story that goes with that, but that's for another day. But I was one of those people. And I think that's why my frustration comes out, because I want to help people. And knowing like where my downfall was many, many, many moons ago, don't have gray hairs right now to show you, and where I am now, a big thing is you need to know your finances. Like you need to know like where you bank. Okay. We have clients, like I said, that have $20,000 a year that come in. And we have clients that have $200,000 to $500,000 a year and they come in. And I have to help them with their financial statement. The people that make $20,000 a year, they know where they bank. Like they know where they bank. They don't owe anything to anyone. The people that make $200,000 to $500,000 a year that come in, with their expensive suits and they look so nice. And again, no judgment. The fancy purses, the fancy shoes, they come in, they don't even know where they bank. I've spoken with women, especially women. And again, I'm not trying to stereotype, but that's what I've seen. And they don't even know where they bank. I'm like, where do you bank? Oh, I don't know. I'm like, what kind of accounts do you have? Like, oh, I don't know, but then when I look at their credit card debt, it's insane. It's insane. Like having one person that makes $20,000 a year and have their finances right, and having someone come in with $200,000 to $500,000 a year that doesn't even know where they bank. And then as I'm going through their statements, and this computer system is pretty cool because it takes everything that comes in and all of their assets, like their properties and things like that, their cars and everything else that they own outright, and then all of their liabilities, the credit card debt, student loan debt, mortgages, second mortgages, third mortgages. They don't have enough. They're living above their means, even though they're making so much money. Like I'm just like sometimes you kind of feel like saying like, wow, like the $20,000 a year person really knows what's going on, like really understands finances and is like and is killing it and is killing it. And the person making 10 times that amount, like where does the money go? So that's why, like, it's not about the amount of money that you make that determines your ability to achieve your financial goals. It's not the amount of money, it's what you do with it. It's the habits that you form. And it's that simple. It's a matter of lifestyle. So that's why some people think like, oh, so and so, they live below their means. Yeah, they're living below their means because they know exactly what money comes in and how much they can attack their debt, their emergency fund, invest for their future. So I just wanted to say, like, that's why it's so important to make sure that you're not living above your means. So if you don't want a budget, then track your expenses for a month. And I have a video on that and I'll link it down below. But by tracking your expenses for an entire month, you get to see exactly what comes in, where it goes. And then when you see where it goes, then the next step isn't to do categories of budget, because I know that can be overwhelming for people. But then the next step is to then see, how can I lower those numbers? Like, what numbers do I have here that are a little too high that I can lower? And I have a video where just 4 phone calls that I made, I saved my family over $1,200 in 1 year with 4 phone calls. It was a matter of like 2 hours. What can you do in 2 hours? You can sit back and you can watch a movie, or you can actually save $1,200 a year. So I have a video on that too, and I'll link that one down below as well. But there's an expression, and it actually really helped me. I actually put it on a Post-it and I had it up on my computer. And especially when we were tackling our debt, because when like the emergency fund was something that took us a long time. Like I told you, 2 years for the debt, 2 years for the emergency fund, 2 years and a week. I was so close. I was so close to doing it in 2 years. I really was. But so one expression that I had that I put on a Post-it, and it was kind of like motivating for me. And I thought maybe if I can motivate one person, it's worth it. And so I said, so when you're paying for credit card debt, you're using your money now to pay for your mistakes in the past. Like, or you can take that money and invest in your future. Like every time I would even think about like buying something online or going a little bit above my budget, even a little bit, and I look at that expression, I'm like, no, I know what I'm doing, and I'm just going to keep throwing everything at that debt. Now, of course, not having a budget. Now, I just said before, like if you track your expenses for an entire month, now you have a little bit of an idea as to like where your money's going. But some bills, like I've talked about before, some bills aren't monthly, some of them are quarterly, like our garbage bill, our water and sewer, that's quarterly. The taxes, which we have incorporated into our mortgage. But if you don't, I know some people that prefer not to have it incorporated into their mortgage. I believe taxes here in New Jersey are also quarterly. So even though you might be feeling overwhelmed, or like me running away from your husband when he's got that Excel spreadsheet telling you, let's sit down and talk about the budget. If you have any kind of negative hesitation or stress that comes along with having a budget, by having that month of expenses, you really have a roadmap as to where your money's going. And then by doing it again the next month, and then the next month, magically, you've got a budget. Like you now know what money comes in, where it goes, how to make those expenses go lower, and you have a budget. And statistically, and again, I'd love to know where they come up with these numbers with statistics, because you guys ever hear a statistic and you're like, wait a minute, I didn't get polled. Like, how are you coming up with this number? But when I heard it, I was like, oh my gosh, 80% of people in the United States either don't have a budget or don't stick to it. 80%. And that's probably why we have more consumer debt than any other place in the whole world. Right? I mean, if you don't know what's coming in and you're living above your means, and you're not checking your statements, like all these things intertwine with each other. And that's why 80% of people either don't have a budget or don't stick to it. And again, I wasn't polled on that, but whatever. Okay, so let's get fun here. Let's talk about extra cash. Now, I know, and again, I'm not speaking to the people that unfortunately now are without a job, because these categories don't pertain to you, and I'm sorry. I do want to talk about extra cash though. I'm not going to say most of us, but I'm going to say some of us have extra cash that comes in throughout the year. And I'm sorry that I'm feeling a little sensitive about this, because I've spoken to a lot of you that reach out to me on Instagram or comments on my YouTube channel. And again, please reach out to me anytime that you want to talk about anything or you want me to address anything. I'm more than happy to help in any way that I possibly can. But most of us, or some of us, do have extra cash that comes in, and you might not even think of it. Like, first of all, of course, the stimulus check, like the big elephant in the room, right? So do you remember what you did with it? This was supposed to be the second one. If you did get 2 of them, do you remember what you did with the first one? Tax refunds. That's one that I always look forward to every year. Now, I know there's controversy about that. Like, you should be modifying your tax exemptions, because some people say that you shouldn't have a tax refund because you're having the government hold on to the money for you. But honestly, I like my tax refund. I really do. And I am so afraid, honestly, since I'm not an accountant, or I don't know how the modifications would go. But if I modified the numbers that my husband and I do, the tax deductions, in order to not have a refund, my fear is the opposite. Like, we're going to end up owing the government money. My first job, I was filling out the form for I don't know what it's called. Maybe it's a W-2. I'm not sure what it's called when you first start. Let me know. I'm sure one of you guys knows here. And it asked me, like, how many deductions do you have? So I put 1, because I was counting myself. I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. And then later on in the form, it says, how many deductions are you counting? So I was like, okay, 1. So total it. So 2, right? Not realizing I was counting an extra deduction. So everyone kept talking about, oh, when you get your first job and, you get this tax refund. And I was like, oh man, tax refund. Yeah. No, I owed because I didn't know what I was doing. I'm, like, again, naive teenager, whatever. So I owed money that year. So messing around with that, I'm not telling anyone else what to do, but for me and my husband, we're like, no, we'll get a tax refund. So tax refund is another one. If you get any kind of Christmas bonus at work, like, again, what are you going to do with that money? Here's one that not no one, but I'm sure some of us don't think about. I get excited, again, nerd, when it comes to the end of September, right? Why? Because our Social Security deduction on our paycheck is maxed, which means that from mid to late September through the end of the year, it's like a little bit of a raise in your paycheck. Like, you get a little bit extra in. And so, like, do you plan for that? I do. I do. Anytime that any of these things have happened, I've taken it and I've automatically transferred it, which I'll talk about in a minute, to our slush fund that was paying off our debt, that was building up our emergency fund, and that now I'm going to use to start building up our retirement accounts. So that, I think for me, it ended up being like close to like $53, I want to say, last year, for that Social Security deduction. When I see that in the mid to late September, I get excited. I'm like, extra cash. And of course, I was going to say tax refund. Oh, so do you know already, like, what you're going to do with your tax refund? Like, this is where finances can be fun, right? Because it's not always about like bills and obligations and things like that. It could be about, like, I'm getting this extra money. Like, I'm like, yes, like, where am I putting it? What am I doing it? What financial goal am I going to throw it at in order to kill it as fast as possible, right? So by planning ahead and taking that extra cash and knowing what you're going to do with it, it adds excitement, because once that extra cash hits your account, you know exactly what you're going to do. And by automatically knowing where you're going to throw it, instead of just letting it sit there in your checking account and talk to you, it's like, spend me. I'm like, no. You avoid self-sabotage, which is like the killer when it comes to any financial goals that you have. So now the next one, of course, is not automating your savings, right? Now, not only am I talking about this cash that's coming in that you should be really excited about, but automating your savings. Now, we have a budget, or, if you don't want to call it a budget, your expense sheet. And now with this, you're like, okay, you have things in there that sooner or later are going to end, especially if you have kids. Okay. For example, my oldest, she had braces. I wrote this down because I did not want to forget this number, because it's embedded in my brain, but I'll forget. $135 a month for 2.5 years. Every time I did automate that one, because there's no negotiating the braces. Like, hey, can you just make every other tooth crooked? No. No. So with me, I was like, okay, $135 automatically got taken out of our checking account every month. As soon as that was over, if I saw, I think it's psychological, right? If I saw that money go back, and now all of a sudden the money that I expect to be in the account is $135 more, it's going to be gone, right? It's like that. It's going to be gone. So immediately when the dentist said to me, oh, hey, by the way, this month's your last month's payment, I was like, nice. I went home and I thought to I looked on the calendar, and I'm like, okay, that means that on this day it's supposed to hit my account again. So what do? I automatically set up a transfer, went right into that slush fund. And that was, again, what we used to get out of debt and what we used to build up our emergency fund. Emily's daycare. I had a clock in my head. I love the people from the daycare. They're amazing. They really, they gave her such great habits that we've kept up with, and really molded her, helped mold her into who she is now. So I love them. I love them. But $285 a week? Yeah, in New Jersey, right? I'm mad, right? $285 a week. Anyone grabbing their calculators out there? That's $15,000 a year that we were spending on Emily's daycare. Not only did I have a clock in my head, because things were tight then. They were tight then. But I'm like, I'm not letting that $285 sit in my account, because like I just said, it'll be gone. It'll be gone. It's all about habits, right? So I did the same thing I did for Jesse's braces. I put it in there, and it still gets deducted to this day. And even though I know we have more money than what I see in my account, it doesn't matter, because it's out of sight, out of mind, right? You're tricking yourself. It's out of sight, out of mind. Just like those people that tell you, if you're trying to lose weight, drink more water because it'll help you feel fuller. Well, the same thing goes for this, as far as I'm concerned, right? It's out of sight, out of mind. So that money doesn't even exist to us. It goes right into whatever account, whatever financial goal we're going to hit. People ask us, how did you pay off $48,000 in 2 years? That's how. Living below our means and leaving these expenses continue to get deducted from our checking account. Again, I don't see it. It doesn't exist. So we just get paid less. That's how we see it. And then all of a sudden we hit these goals, 2 years and a week. So the same thing's going to happen this month with Brian's braces. Again, this time it's actually $160, because that's the difference within 2 years here. That money, again, is going to be thrown at our next financial goal, right? Because I'm not going to let it sit there. If I let it sit there, it's going to be gone. So here's another one. Thinking small expenses are small. Again, no judgment. I think we've all done this in one way or another, right? I mean, and I'm not going to tell you not to have your coffee or anything like that. But you're driving, you're running errands or whatever, you're tired, you go for a cup of coffee. It's just a cup of coffee, right? Or a big one. Movie night, right? It's just a movie night. It's just once a week. We're just going to go to a movie. Or, I've cooked this whole week. I'm just going to get a pizza. Okay. Let's take the pizza, which I love pizza. No judgment on anyone that does a pizza night once a week. I'm just throwing an example. Pizza, $20 a week, right? It's just a small expense. It's not a big deal, right? $86 a month. That's what $20 a week is. $86 a month. Okay. Does it still sound small? $1,040 a year. Right? Did I shock anyone? Right? How many of us have a credit card bill or have any kind of bill that we want to just eliminate? That's $1,000. By just cutting down a $20 expense once a week, $1,040 right there. Some people say like, I can't come up with $1,000. Like, I can't come up with $1,000. Like, yes, you can. Yes, you can. It is possible if you look at small expenses on the larger scale. But if you keep telling yourself a small expense, it's just $10, it's just $20, it's just $5. Think about it. Take out your phone, take out a calculator just for a second and just think to yourself, why am I struggling? Like, why am I not able to tackle my debt? Why am I not able to tackle my goals? Pizza is $1,040 at the end of the year, once a week. Maybe make it once every 2 weeks. That would leave you $520 that you can play with. Like, that's what I mean. Like, it really is important to really look at everything. And now my favorite, you have to celebrate the victories. You really, really do. If you don't celebrate the victories, now with us, like, we were following Dave Ramsey's baby steps, and I'll have another video on that. And I know some people feel different ways about Dave Ramsey. And I love Susie Orman too. Adored her. Saw her show, got her books. She's fantastic. But if you just keep being robotic about money, right? Let's just say like you are doing Dave Ramsey's baby steps, right? So the baby step number one, $1,000 of an emergency fund. You're not having any fun. You're not doing anything. $1,000 of emergency fund, which, however you want to do it. But then once you pass to that goal and you go to the next goal, you need to celebrate it. Like, I feel strongly about this. Like, you really need to celebrate it, because if you continue on this mundane, like, goal setting, like, this is what I got to do. Okay, I did this. Okay, now this is what I got to do. Okay, I did this. Okay, this is what I got to do. Now I'm doing this. Like, no, you need to pause. Just hit the pause button as soon as you're done and just celebrate it. When it was a small victory for us, when we paid off one credit card at a time, or we had our $1,000 emergency fund, we celebrated, and it wasn't something big. Like, I wasn't going to go out and have lobster, and like, hey, I got out a credit card debt, but hey, let's charge up this lobster. Like, no, but we went out to dinner one day, small coupon. Yes. Lunch instead of dinner. Yes. But we did it. Like, we did it. Like, one time when we paid off a credit card, I ordered Mexican food, we ordered a movie. And we just cuddled up and watched the movie. It's like, no, I'm not cooking tonight. Like, no, it's not just going to be like a pizza. Like, no, we're doing something. We went out. Like, we had a date. Like, one time I found this great seafood place. And again, not lobster, but I had a good coupon. And my husband and I were like, we're celebrating. So we went out. Big celebration was when we paid off the debt. And like I said, December 31st, 2018. I'll never forget it. One of the best financial days of ever. I just felt like all of a sudden, magically, it's like, weight loss, like the 50-pound cloud is like gone. But along with that, though, I started saving immediately for an emergency fund. But I said to my husband, like, we have to do something. And he was like, absolutely. We've been minding every cent, and it can be so mundane, and it can be so stressful. It's like, no, you need to celebrate it. So we did a little slush fund. And that's where we threw, for the first 6 months, like everything we could, including our tax return. And we had a good year that year too, financially, because we had so many deductions. We had a few medical things with the kids and things like that, which, knock on wood, will never happen again. But when something bad happens, something good can come out of it. So it was a big tax deduction for us. Anyway, so what did we do with it? I was frugal. I was on every single website you can imagine, trying to get, tips on how to save on airfare, which I killed it, by the way. How to save on the trip itself, like, little tips and this and that. Because again, any little thing adds up to something big. We went to Disney World. Yeah, right. It's like that Super Bowl thing. What are you doing next? Like, I'm going to Disney World. It was the dream vacation, honestly. It was 8 days and 7 nights, and we had the time of our lives. The kids saved up their own accounts for their souvenirs. I was like, you save you do you. That's fine by me. And when I tell you how much we could have saved, how much we did save on that vacation, like it was an achievement. It was an achievement because we could not afford what we did, but we did it with no debt, nothing on a credit card, like no balances at the end when we came back. Because that's the thing. It's people that go and they think like, oh hey, like I got this tax refund, like I'm just gonna go even though I have debt, and I'm just gonna go and I'm just gonna vacation. And again, no judgment, right? But when you come back from whatever vacation you've been on, who's there knocking on your door, right? Right? What is it? The credit card company, your student debt, like your second and your third mortgage, like debt follows you, So to come back and be debt free and have gone on our dream vacation, it was the best. It was the best. So when it comes to finances, like emotions impact your finances. That's something I wrote down and I wanted to say. So it's time to have fun. It's time to have fun. Let's be frugal, but let's have fun and celebrate it together, and celebrate even the small victories. Because a victory isn't a victory if you're not going like, yay, So I am done and I'm going to go to the comments now. I see them popping up like crazy. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Let me see. Oh, Vita. Hi. She's so sweet. Oh, there's Jan. Hey, Jan. Let's see. Steve Young Pine. Okay. This gentleman here, I'm going to comment him. Steve Young Pine. If you guys don't follow him, please go check out his YouTube channel. He is so financially savvy. Anytime that you can have a conversation with him or throw a question at him, especially about credit card, this man knows it all. So he's fantastic. Let's see. Okay. Oh, Lady Likeables, hi. I haven't seen you in a bit. I'm waiting for your videos. Rochelle Adamson's Budgets. Yes. You guys, this is another great channel. Let me click on her. Anytime that I am budgeting, I'm balancing my checkbook. And yes, I'm opening up my bills because I'm 90 in my brain. I'm watching Rochelle. She's awesome. Oh, Joy, hi. Yes, emergency fund girl. Yes, here we go. Joy's awesome. She is actually in New York and she does a lot of, she's younger than me, so I really enjoy her energy. And she does a lot of videos about how to save money and how to live in New York. So she's fantastic. You guys got to check her out. Let me see. Oh, hi, Wanda. How are you? They're all saying hi to each other. Vita says she knows what I mean. Yes, Jan, we do need to know ourselves in order to know like how we're able to deal with money. Because if you don't know yourself, like where do you start? And also, it's easy to self-sabotage if you don't know yourself. Hi, Granny T. Let me see. Wanda says you need to check receipts too. Yes, good point. Good point. Yes, you do. She says you need to check receipts too. I've gotten overcharged at the grocery store before. That happened to me too. Honestly, that's something I really wanted. I wanted to bring up also points on like how to shop smarter, but I think that's going to be for another video. And Wanda, I'm definitely going to be talking about that. Absolutely. Oh, Tony Ann is here. Hi, Tony. Let's see. Jan. Yes. Oh, sorry. I don't know what just happened here. Let me see. Okay. I gotcha. Okay. Cable bills have a way of sneaking increases. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Read those bills. Yes, absolutely. That happened with my cable. I wish I could say the name of the cable company because that rep was the only rep I've ever dealt with in my whole life that he was so rude to me. And I just wanted to ask a question about the bill because I had this charge. They sent us a new modem. This is computer thing. That's my husband's thing. But they sent us a new modem and they wanted us to use it. And because we didn't install it or do whatever you have to do with it, again, that's my husband's job. They were charging us a fee for not using it, right? And then they were charging us a fee for the newer service. So I'm like, which way are you going to have it? Like, am I going to get charged more for using it or for not using it? Like, what's that? So when I called, the gentleman was so rude to me. We're still stuck with that company because unfortunately, in our area, we're limited. But as soon as we're not, first bill, I'm going to cancel. Oh, Kate. Hey, Kate. How are you? Oh, she's so sweet. Vita. Oh, they're all saying hi to each other. It's so funny how they get to know each other here. Oh, Game Dreamers, hi. Let's see. Oh, Rose Smith. Okay. She's got a great channel too. I got to shout her out. Okay. She does cleaning and organization, and her motivation is fantastic. I'm telling you, like the way that I see her using containers and how to streamline your kitchen. I'm just like, she's brilliant. You guys, please go check her out. She's awesome. Let me see. Oh, here's Vita. She's always has something great to say. She says, celebrating also keeps your family or your husband involved. That is so smart. Absolutely. 1000%. I don't know where I'd be if it wasn't because my husband and I are on the same page financially. I honestly don't know where I'd be. And when I hear some of these podcasts, which I love financial podcasts because I feel like I'm absorbing more information, when they talk about how, like, you know, one spouse is on board, one spouse isn't, that's sabotage right there. And I feel so bad for those people because, like, again, backstory is I also was in a boat like that. Way, way, way back. So back, I don't even want to look back. But that's one of the things that I really feel like that's why my husband and I are so financially in sync, you know? And I was going to say successful, but we're not successful yet, but stay tuned. But definitely, it's just a matter of being in sync. And when you're in sync with someone that you love, all of a sudden, like, it's just all these doors open. They really do, because you're working together as a team. And I can't say enough about him. I adore him. And he has helped change my life in many, many ways. And financially is definitely one of them. So Vita, very smart. Very good. Absolutely. Oh, here goes Steve. Hold on. Okay. Told you he's smart. Here we go. One thing about department store cards where it says no payment, no interest till 2023, pay it because the 25% interest is accruing. Yep. Yes, it is. Uh-huh. And what isn't paying, oh, sorry. And what isn't paid, all of that interest is applied to the balance. Absolutely. Absolutely. I told you he's so smart. Please, guys, go check him out. He's his channel. He's brand new to YouTube, so he only has a few videos, but the man is smart, especially about credit cards. And I am out of comments. Does anyone have any questions for me before I go? And I know I mentioned this before, but if you guys have any topics that you want me to cover in the future, and please send me a message on Instagram. Please reach out to me on YouTube, on the comments below, any way that you'd like. And on Instagram, I'm also at How Debbie Saves. So I would love to be able to help anyone any way that I can, honestly. And I can talk money all day, as you could tell. Okay, well, I guess that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please don't forget to click the like button because I know it really helps the algorithm and it helps my video get out there even more. So I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll see you in my next video. I do lives every Tuesdays at 7, and I have videos that pop up every Saturday morning. So thanks again. See you in the next one. Bye.